What's really special about hunting whitetail deer in Montana, I guess for me, is I've never done it before.
I've seen the antlers before, but his head's down now. Should I move up to that tree right there? Yeah, I think we have to.
Today on Whitetail Revolution, renowned wildlife sculptor Mike Barlow and host Ron Spomer take to the thick river bottoms of the Upper Ruby in search of Mike's first whitetail. Should they succeed, Mike intends to make his Montana buck immortal in a magnificent bronze.
I seen a pig up here, a big whitetail up here.
He just kept his nose to the ground right along that fence, and that buck came right towards me.
Here he comes. Oh, wait till he stops. Wait till he stops.
Winchester Whitetail Revolution is brought to you by
Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Otis Technologies, the most advanced gun care system in the world. Code Blue, perfecting the science of hunting. Winchester Rifles and Shotguns, the guns that work.
My main concern here is helping Mike to discover whitetails. You know, he's been photographing them a lot, but he's only hunted them a few times, and I don't think he's ever taken one.
I grew up in eastern Wyoming, so I've spent my childhood mule deer hunting, so I've always wanted to hunt whitetail deer and just never had the opportunity.
Mike, he asked if I would guide for him, and I said I'd be honored to guide for him.
The Upper Ruby River runs through southwestern Montana, creating a lush oasis for elk, mule deer, pronghorn, and whitetails. The river valley is nestled in among rugged mountain ranges that jut upwards of 10,000 feet. Upper Canyon Outfitters appears like a mirage in this rough country. Surrounded by wilderness both beautiful and unforgiving, the ranch offers unexpected luxury to dog-tired hunters who filter in at the end of the day.
We're here in Montana where Whitetail Revolution is hunting with Mike Barlow, artist, photographer, sculptor, Wyoming, Montana native, country boy who loves to hunt. I met Mike several years ago and when we were both wildlife photographers, and we've always wanted to get together for a hunt. Now we've got the opportunity right here in Montana. Can you believe this country for whitetail hunting? This is outstanding.
I didn't have a whole lot of time to do my hunt. I just had a couple of days. I showed up at the ranch, and Jake and Donna took good care of me. Jake said he knew of a good spot where the whitetail were moving, so we just immediately went out to that spot.
He's got a nice thick neck on him. Yeah, he's a nice mature deer, at least a 3-year-old. He's a nice buck, but it's certainly no fully mature monster. Okay, he's got a 1 inch, maybe 2 inch brow tine on the right. Yeah. Just a tiny bump on the left. Boy, he's got a nice thick neck though.
It's nice having Ron Spomer there. He's a very experienced whitetail hunter. He knows a lot about whitetail deer and all about guns, ammunition, ballistics, and everything. He's just a wealth of knowledge, and it was a lot of fun spending a few days in camp with Ron.
When you're out hunting like this, you get a lot of inspiration for your bronzes.
Oh, I do, yeah. You know, it's kind of neat, especially these whitetail. They're so graceful.
So do you spend a lot of hours out studying them?
Yeah, you just about have to. You got to spend days and days and days. be real patient.
I just don't understand how you can capture that life. When you look at one of your bronzes, it just, you just have the essence of the spirit of the animal or something. How do you do that?
I don't know. I guess it just takes a lot of time. You got to spend a lot of time in the field.
Do you use reference photographs too?
I do. I use reference for photographs, but the best reference is life.
Oh yeah.
Being able to see the animal, especially in this natural environment like this.
Mike, he came by he stopped by the ranch one time. This was in '93. We figured it was '93. And he asked Donna if, we ever did any horse packing or mule packing. And she said yes, and he asked if he could take pictures of us. And I told Donna, I said, sure, we'll do it. So we went up in the hills, just up the road a little bit, and he took some photos. And he even came up while the camp was in operation. We killed a couple bulls.
I just met him by coincidence. I was driving up the Ruby River one day looking for a beautiful place to photograph, and I saw the Upper Canyon Ranch there, pulled in, and right from the beginning, Jake and I and Donna and I became fast friends.
I think she's all over.
Okay.
Getting too dark to shoot, huh?
Getting a little dark, isn't it? What do you think? Give her a shot in the morning.
Absolutely.
The deer are just popping up from all over the place. Kept looking for that big buck, wondering if he was ever going to make it, and sure enough, out of the blue, he just appeared.
Let's get to this week's Whitetail Insider, your source for the latest in the ever-changing world of whitetail hunting. They say opportunity comes when timing meets preparation, and nothing could be more true when it comes to big bucks.
Russ Van Zorn is a retired railroad conductor and a hardcore bow hunter from Michigan. For 8 years, he's traveled to Kansas to hunt on public land. Last November, he finally got his first bow shot. After a heat wave with temps in the 80s, Friday morning it dropped into the 30s. Around 8 a.m., a giant buck stepped out and walked down the same trail Russ had walked on. The deer stopped at 13 yards and Russ drilled him with a 100-grain broadhead. The 6-year-old monster hit 27 points and scored 229. 3 great lessons here. You can kill a Boone and Crockett whitetail on public land if you do your research, pick an area with light pressure, and scout well. Russ waited 8 years to fire his first arrow, but man was it worth it. Also, I've written many times in outdoor life that the day after a cold front drops the temperature 30 degrees, it's one of the best days of the year to hunt. The deer will move, especially when they're rutting in November. Finally, sweat the details. Russ wore scent lock and cover scent, so his dream buck didn't smell him on that trail. Awesome, Russ. Definitely one of the top public land bucks of 2006. From the Big Buck Zone, I'm Mike Handbag.
I seen a pig up here, a big whitetail up here. And they're just so hard to get in on. I seen him up here, so he's only about 80 yards up here. So, okay, and I'm just gonna go in there, we'll go slow, and just keep looking. I can just see him now. Is that a buck? Okay, I see him sail out of it, you gotta make sure. I see the antlers before, but his head's down now. I don't know if we can get up to him.
Should we get closer?
We have to. Okay, we have to. There he goes, there he goes. He's gone. He's chasing that doe.
To create his sculptures, Mike relies on the animal encounters he experiences in the field. With those images burned into memory, he recreates a moment in time, capturing the true essence of the animal.
The thoughts that I have going into this hunt as pertains to the piece that I'm about ready to sculpt is when I think of a white-tailed deer, I think of it running away from a hunter with his tail up, taking off and running into the thicket. And I'll be able to see that white-tailed deer running away and hopefully that will inspire me to do a nice action piece of a deer.
Ron, you go up this way, I'll take Mike down this way.
All right.
We'll cross across here, we'll just meet in the middle, okay?
Should I cross on that bridge around the corner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See you up in what, 15, 20 minutes? Half hour?
It's daylight, it just doesn't matter. I mean, we got no hurry to go.
Work the deer, huh?
Yes, sir.
We'll see you when we see you.
Okay.
Ready?
Let's go. In the late 1990s, I made a switch from being a full-time wildlife photographer to a full-time wildlife sculptor. And it was an easy transition for me to make. I grew up in an artist household. My father's a landscape painter, so it just came naturally to me. When you're out in the field and you're spending that much time with the animals, photographing them, you really get to see how they move in the wild. And that's very important as a sculptor, to see how an animal naturally behaves.
He's not going to move from her.
No, that's a beautiful deer, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's pretty preoccupied. And there's no way we could get out there. Oh.
Is it too far out there?
Oh, well, there's no cover. And look how, watch it, every move, he's just, man, he is just watching.
Yeah, man, I wish
But he's still paying attention to them gals.
I wish I could get a deer like that. He's a dandy, isn't he? That's everybody's dream buck there.
Yeah, he is.
So right here is, believe it or not, a white-tailed deer. This is my wire skeleton here, and I've used bone measurements to make sure that everything is anatomically correct. And the next step is to start applying the clay. Most enjoyable part of the whole process is putting those first few bits of clay onto this sculpture. This process will probably take about 2 weeks or so. By the end of it, should start looking like a whitetail anyway. Once in a while when I'm hunting or when I'm photographing or when I'm spending time with an animal, I'll see a certain movement or certain gesture that an animal makes, and I remember that, and then I come back to my studio and try to recreate that. People ask me what my favorite animal is to sculpt, and actually it's just the piece that I'm working on at the present time. I do get emotionally attached to them. I think you got to put your soul into a piece in order for it to come out right. And it's like a little part of you going into this deer. I was totally out of position. Here he comes. I'm looking across the field, and here he comes. How am I going to get from where I am in the trees, down the ditch, up to the other side without him seeing me?
Come along the fence. Come along the fence.
Winchester Whitetail Revolution is brought to you by
Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Otis Technologies, the most advanced gun care system in the world. Code Blue, perfecting the science of hunting. Winchester Rifles and Shotguns, the guns that work.
It remains today that in designated areas of North America, local hunters are allowed to forego the game laws imposed on sport hunters and harvest game strictly for their own food supply. But are subsistence hunters a threat to trophy game populations? Let's join hosts Mark Kaiser and Mike Hanbeck as they debate this growing controversy.
There's been a hot button issue, especially in Canada, about native peoples being allowed to subsistence hunt. And there's nothing wrong with that, given that that's all that they do.
People are doing it in Canada and Alaska and out west and different places where there are certain, where these populations are. And subsistence hunt, it is what it is.
Especially what you find in that North Country is a very, very delicate resource. It needs to be managed as such.
I don't think we need to go in, like Mark says, and put any type of controls on it and worry about how greedy they are. Let these people do what they do.
Groups of people run wild and shoot these game animals without any type of controls and laws and regulations? I don't think so.
They're controlled as it is. People just can't roam all over and kill game willy-nilly.
They should be allowed to take those animals, but in a very, and I mean a very, very well-managed and regulated situation.
People have been subsistence hunting on the continent for 12,000 years or however many years, a hell of a lot longer you and I have been here or anybody else ever will be. They do what they do. We don't need more controls on it. End of story.
Log on to versus.com to tell us where you stand on the debate.
I love to stalk and still hunt. The brush was awfully thick for still hunting, but we still got pretty close to some good animals just by easing through those dense, thick willow packets down on the bottom, right against the river. But I think our biggest success was, as you could anticipate, more long-range things, watching bucks come out of those willows across the hayfields and taking shots anywhere from 100 to 300 yards.
They're chasing these does. It's getting later in the afternoon. The does are going to be coming out to feed, and if the does come out to feed, the bucks are going to be with them. So what I think we'll do is I'll set you guys up on the edges of some fields, and we'll see what happens from there.
If I see a good one way down the field, I can just crawl over to him, can I?
If you can get in there, by God, do it.
All right, yeah, I don't like to sit and wait for him to come.
It's hard, it's hard. Let's go back over here and we'll kind of see if anything's out in the field, and that kind of determine where we're going.
All right.
You see right out there on that point of that little island of trees right there?
Yeah.
You're going to set just a little bit inside there.
Okay.
And then keep your eye up on that mountain up there. And also right along this other side here, right in that timber, there's a fence line. You can just barely see it right there. Just a barbed wire fence. They'll either walk along there, and then a lot of times they'll jump it or climb under it and come over here. There's an irrigation ditch right there. They'll get down in there, but they're pretty leery, so they're not going to be standing out in the open a lot.
All right.
So just keep your eye open and don't move around. I can't tell you how much not to move around. They're just pretty wary.
So they're up in that timber a lot of times.
Oh, all the time.
Okay.
They'll bed down in there and they'll come down here and to feed.
Okay.
So.
Sounds good.
All right.
Very good.
So don't be afraid to shoot a whitetail, okay?
Thanks, Jake.
Okay, buddy. See you.
I think the best way to capture the spirit of a white-tailed deer is working from life. It is spending time with the animal, watching how it moves, watching how it reacts with other deer, watching how it flees from a hunter, and really watching the animal in its own environment.
Oh, we got 2 does now anyway. They're looking up the hill. I wonder what they're looking at. Something's got their attention. There's a little buck up there. Well, we got the does, we got the little bucks. There's only one thing left to see. That's really pretty. Oh, over the fence.
I want to make sure the bone structure shows. It's always challenging to make clay look like either bone or muscle. You want to be able to separate the two. Parts of a deer are real soft, parts of a deer are real hard.
There he is. There's the buck. There he is. There he is.
I think that it's important for somebody who's buying one of my sculptures to know that I'm a hunter, because number one, they're going to know that I'm spending a lot of time out in the field with that animal, really getting to know that animal and getting a relationship going with that animal.
Just come along the fence. Come along the fence. Oh man. There you go. There you go. There you go. No, wait till he stops. Wait till he stops.
It's just unbelievable. We've been sitting here for 2 hours, freezing cold, and we did it. Just like that. Boom. Just like that. What a beautiful animal. Oh my goodness. I can't even hardly move. I can't even hardly breathe. Oh, I'm so excited. That was awesome. Oh, man, how about that?
Hey, that is a dandy.
Isn't that exciting?
5x5.
5x5. Boy, he's a beautiful buck. He really is.
Golly.
I'll tell you
He's
what,
not that old of a buck, and he's got a good set of good rack.
No, he's a scrapper though. Look at that. He's been doing some serious fighting.
He had that other ear, both them ears are split. This one's really split here.
Oh yeah, and he's doing some serious rubbing.
By
Isn't that
golly, I
sweet?
think my man
You are just
scored.
in time to drag this deer out for me. How
No,
about
I was
that?
going to wait a little bit longer.
How about that? Ain't he a dandy?
Boy, he's a nice one.
Nice 5x5.
Tight little 5x.
Yeah.
Look at that velvet nose on him. Man.
Well, he went down pretty hard, I'll tell you what, and then he just ran right into that fence. I
Where
didn't
did
know
he
how
hit?
far he was going, but
And you're going to work some clay on him tomorrow?
yeah, I'm going to see what I can do with this
I
guy.
want to see you convert this into...
Make a little sculpture of this guy.
Yeah,
How about
that'll
that?
be wild. See,
All
turn
right.
him into art. Want me
Okay,
to grunt
Ron,
for
get
you?
back here and help us. Just kidding.
Oh, it feels so heavy. Oh, come on,
One
boy.
more leg, Jake, and we're there.
All right, buddy, I hope you pull some.
I think I live in the perfect place to sculpt North American big game animals. Here in Montana, we have such a variety, and it's right there at my fingertips, right at my doorsteps. That really helps me as far as being able to step out my front door and just mesh right in there with my subjects.